even as on the front page of the Hindustan Times over here, thank you Varghese, it says China, Ukraine defense on PM Biden bilateral agenda. So when you're talking about, and you know, they put out a real nice photograph, you know, if you could just switch the camera over here. On the top page here, on the Hindustan Times, this is a photograph of the Prime Minister's visit, you know, to the United States. It says rich, multifaceted talks on the cards. Discussions between Biden and Modi, why am I saying Modi? Like the United States commentator. Discussions between Biden and Modi will take stock of the progress in India's relationship with the United States. Only yesterday did the Congress give a green light to that jet transfer of technologies when we're looking at General Electric jet deal for our own light combat aircraft.
80% TOT is there in that. It is a major TOT transfer that we are looking. The Americans technically don't go for a TOT with any other country. So they have some kind of trust with HAL and therefore they've gone for that TOT. But on the larger part of it, this G20 bilateral that we are seeing, especially Modi and Biden bilateral, I think it's
the visuals from the White House on the screens for ladies and gentlemen. Sorry to cut you short there, Varghese.
So this bilateral that we are going to look at is going to be very significant on the sidelines of G20. We are talking about Ukraine. Why is it that the Americans have been using India, or rather have been trying to push across India on the Ukraine front? Because we are very close to Russia and as well as Putin. And Prime Minister Modi has been speaking to Putin on the Ukraine front. You've seen this is not an era of war, is what the Prime Minister has said. So when he says that this is not an era of war, it is not an era of war because you are looking at global level of cooperation, trying to have trade ties, and here you can't go back to some kind of feudalistic arrangement where issues are there. But of course Russia has its own national interests in place and we have our own national interests in play. But the fact is that probably the US sees that we are the ones who can actually bring in some kind of talks with Russia where the situation in Ukraine can be addressed.
I 100% know for a fact the United States always has an ulterior motive. It's given, history is witness to it. Meanwhile, ladies and gentlemen, this is what the bilateral is going to be based on. The civil nuclear issues. India, United States have made clear progress to overcome differences on where India's nuclear liability law remains a concern for players in American nuclear industry, beg your pardon. On the other hand, Biden visit in early 2024. There is speculation that Biden may visit India again in 2024 to be the chief guest at the Republic Day ceremony and attend the 2024 Quad Summit, which might be held in India. Ties with China. They will also discuss China, particularly the Delhi-Beijing diplomacy around the LAC, the latest map interpretation, absurd map interpretation that is also doing the rounds right ahead of G20 and after the BRICS bilateral with Prime Minister Modi and Xi Jinping. Defense progress. The US believes with substantial progress in the defense arena, both sides will explore whether there are other steps that can be taken up. Camp David Summit. A recent trilateral summit between US, Japan and South Korea hosted by Biden at Camp David will also likely figure in this particular talk. So on the sidelines of the G20, the Prime Minister is going to be holding talks with the President of the United States. Varghese.
Well, as you pointed out, it is probably a prelude to what would be there if Biden is going to come in January as the Republic, Day celebrations guest. And this prelude also talks about the deepening relationship between India as well as the United States. Gone are the animosities of the old Cold War era, and we had that thing about, the West Great Empire game that the Americans were trying to in fact play out in Asia. So all those factors have in fact moved out, and now it's more about a close relationship, about partnership that the BJP as well as the Prime Minister has been looking with the United States. But then with Biden actually coming into the picture, see, it comes when the most important fact that we have to be looking out over here is with regards to nuclear energy, Kabir. Why is it important when it comes to nuclear energy? Is that, remember the 123 agreement that Manmohan Singh had gone ahead and signed with then US President Bush. But after that, we have been trying to move away from coal-based energy. so that, you know, the thermal factor could be looked into. And we were trying to have a lot of nuclear powered energy into the system that they want to put. But that has been affecting because of this certain law that we had passed, where the liability was kept on these companies if there's a nuclear accident. That is because of Chernobyl. But the fact remains is that this is a move forward, because we are probably going to be a nation that's going to be powered by, our electricity is going to come from nuclear energy, and probably we are going to have the highest number of civilian nuclear reactors in the world.
The linear road to future is nuclear, isn't it?
Dangerous linear road.
A very dangerous linear road is absolutely nuclear.